This show is about Canadian banks and money. But before we get to that, money is what keeps this show going. And the Prime Minister's office does not. So please subscribe and donate. John Turley-Ewart is a banking historian, consultant. He's an expert at banking. And he joins me now because Canadians have been reading just recently that CIBC fined $42 million in the States by some regulator for not using the correct phones or something. And then earlier, the TD Bank, something like $2.6 billion. They're taking money away from Canadians. I mean, are they picking on us, or do they do this to American banks as well?
They do it to American banks as well. I would say they're not picking on us. Now remember, the United States is a great place for opportunities. I've spent years working in New York for a Canadian bank, two Canadian banks down there. And you can make a great living as a Canadian bank, generating income, paying dividends in Canada, but you have to follow the rules. And the rules in the United States are quite different from Canada. So in the United States, you have lawyers, prosecutors who regulate the banks. In Canada, you have bureaucrats who regulate the banks. It's a very different regulatory environment, and Canadian banks are learning this year by year. It's a different place to do banking.
When we, TD, CIBC, other banks buy, and there's so many banks in the States that they buy these banks to get into the market, and they've done very, very well, are the Americans looking at us and saying, these guys don't know the rules, because Canadians don't have those rules, as you just said, and we're going to be able to pull them along and make a lot of money out of this and make them pay the fines?
Well, I don't think they're quite doing that, but I think in the case of Toronto Dominion Bank, they're quite surprised that they're laxed anti-money laundering controls, for example. We have those rules up here in Canada, but here's
nothing.
No, but here's the difference, Stephen. So up here, it's against our laws for our supervisor to release information on findings on the banks on AML. In the United States, it's not like that. So we have no idea what our bank supervisor, OSFI, has found on Canadian banks because they are prevented by law from telling Canadians. In the US, there's no such restrictions. So that's why you're seeing all this information come out of the US, because they don't have that kind of restriction.
So they don't look at or they meaning some, not the regulators, but the bankers being taken over by Canadians. They don't look at us and say, oh, these guys are just, the dupes coming down, and we're going to take them.
They don't. The key lessons, though, that Canadian bankers have to learn down there, again, you have prosecutors regulating banks. That means they have regulation that's very law focused. You need to hire the right law firms. You need to have the right regulatory people. You have to have the right staff, and it costs a lot of money. And I think some Canadian banks have been more used to the cozy, pragmatic relationship with regulators they have in Canada. Down in the States, they don't care. It's all about the law. You don't follow the law, they're going to come after you.
It'd be cheaper to have better lawyers than to pay $2.6 billion in a fine. John Turley-Ewart, yes. I know you got lots to say, but we're out of time. Okay. 3 minutes. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
To those of you who have subscribed and donated, a heartfelt thank you. You're keeping us on the air. If you're watching and you haven't, please try to do so, because 4 years ago, we started this show because there needed to be independent analysis. Now more than ever, with the Online Harms Act, once that gets into law, it's been passed once by the House, there are going to be hundreds of bureaucrats censoring the news in Canada, censoring this show. We need to keep it on the air. Thanks for your support.